Good evening, all, and once again, welcome to the Shadow Gallery. I am, as always, your host, James Donnelly, and Little Hand on the watch says that it's time for new comics, bitches! Okay. Anyway, we're back to our weekly series, and we're on time this week, as opposed to being out of time, like I was last week. Lots of stuff to cover this week, so strap in and hang on, because this is going to be a wild ride. Guarantee you that. Or maybe not. Maybe it'll just be me talking about, how I feel about some of the comics that were released this week, and some interesting people. One interesting person, really. Anyway, let's start, shall we? Okay, so we're going to start with a comic that I didn't think, honestly, I was going to even pick up, but it just drew me in, and that is Wolverine and the X-Men, #1. Now, I was a huge fan of Wolverine and the X-Men, the cartoon that Marvel Studios put out with Lionsgate, mostly because it was just a really, really well done cartoon. And this I knew wasn't going to be the same thing, but hey, it was going to be written by Jason Aaron, art by Chris Bachalo, however you pronounce his name, and that really interested me right off the bat. But again, I was more, to be perfectly honest, I was very much Team Cyclops and not Team Wolverine. So, my thoughts on this were very much, I'm going to get Uncanny X-Men, see where that goes, and skip Wolverine and the X-Men. To my, I don't know, in way of me eating crow, I guess a little bit, this issue was very good. It was very, very good. I really, really enjoyed it from beginning to end. I thought it was an incredibly solid and extremely dense read. I liked that it had this. It has this kind of breezy, almost kind of a lighthearted mentality throughout the issue. And Bacala's art is terrific. It's really well suited for this comic. There were just so many things that I did like. It was a lot of little things, a lot of little touches. Basically, it's ultimately, Logan and his, kind of co-headmaster, Kitty Pryde, are going to be leading these essentially these school inspectors through the school to show them, okay, well, this is the type of school that we have, and they're trying, and Wolverine's in a suit and everything like that, and Kitty's got a little hello, my name is sticker, so it just has this the silliness, and of course you've got Toads, the janitor, and Rachel Gray is one of the instructors, and so you've got all these different characters, just kind of wandering around the danger room slash bathroom. Part was just awesome. I was just like, that is so cool, and it was hilariously funny. It's he found a lot of. Aaron just found a lot of really fun and satiric moments, obviously with the two very kind of upper crusty, Westchester, kind of snooty, elitist, East Coasters, these very, these very high class people, and he's just, and everything to the school is utterly horrifying to them. It's just, they're literally like, how can this even happen? And of course, they're kind of counting, because Hank's there, they're counting on Beast to kind of save the day, because he's always, the guy to go to when it comes to class, and when it comes to proper demeanor, and when it comes to speaking very eloquently, and and he's just, in this like kind of fury about the way that certain things are shaping up around the school. And again, when you see the school in its entirety, I mean, it's a really radical design. I did have, this is more of a nitpick than it is a complaint. I was kind of iffy on it being called the Jean Grey School for Gifted Youngsters, because, again, it just kind of seemed to be more of like, Wolverine kind of, giving Cyclops the finger, essentially. That's what it felt like to me. It's just, another way that he's going to get back at him. And maybe that will come to play in later issues. I don't know if it's going to be a huge issue or if it's going to be a non-issue. But to me, it just felt like, because I am, if there's going to be, an event like Schism, I'm always going to come down on the side of Scott Summers over James Howlett. Because Cyclops has long been, my single favorite X-Man, and probably always will be. So, until he really, really screws up, or becomes just, even then though, because he has screwed up. But, like having the psychic affair with Emma Frost, and so that was, kind of some dirty business there for Scott, but, he's not a perfect guy. But he's a great hero. Which is not to say that Wolverine is a bad hero. It's just that sometimes it's, too much is too much. And Wolverine does tend to get a little overexposed. He's got, 5 books that he's in every month, from, whatever. Yeah, the design of the school is really radical. And of course, we have at the end, we meet, we see Cade Kilgore there, the young mastermind behind everything really shitty that just happened in Schism, in the events there. And, he's just the, it's like, if you take every, 12-year-old spoiled brat and made him a total sociopath, you would have Cade Kilgore. And he's the, you can't do anything to him just because he's a kid. So, I mean, he's a great foil for someone like Wolverine and someone like the X-Men, because you can't kill him, you can't put him in jail, you can't even beat him up because he's just a kid. So, I mean, it does, it adds this quandary, and it just adds to the just utter disgust and contempt that you have for Cade Kilgore. And basically he's just saying, and he comes in to tell Wolverine that, I started it, I'm a kid, you can't do anything to me, and I'm going to do everything I possibly can to bring you and your little team down, and I'm going to burn the place down and piss in the ashes. That's what he's there to say. And then all of a sudden, all hell does break loose. And so it's like kind of all of the fun parts kind of, come to a screeching halt at the very end, and it's like, uh-oh, we're in deep shit now. But that's still, again, that's, that only enhanced my admiration for it. So, I mean, if there weren't a couple of superior comics this week, this would definitely, like if this were last week, this would have been a shoe-in for Book of the Week. But it wasn't, so, and this week we have some really, really, really good stuff. And some really not so good stuff. So let's talk about let's talk of one of the not really good things. Fury of Firestorm, number 2. It's, whether you've heard or not, basically Gail Simone is leaving the comic, I think after the 6th issue. It's becoming clear as to why. Now, the first issue, what I talked about, one of the things that I really admired about it was that, because we have Ethan Van Sciver and Gail Simone co-writing, and, basically they're kind of the personifications of, Gail Simone is kind of like Jason Rush, intellectual, kind of a liberal, and just very kind of outside the box geeky. And then you have Ronnie Raymond, kind of the Ethan Van Sciver. He's a little he's more traditional. He's a football hero. He's a jock. He's kind of all American. Which is he's not like a kind of a tea partier like Ethan Van Sciver seems to be, but you could kind of see him going down that road. So I mean, like I said, that these two characters have these very distinct voices. Just everything that was in that first issue that was attracting me to it is very sadly lacking here in the second issue. And again, it's a book with some good ideas. Like some of these villains that they're facing off with. They're kind of like they're like tweaking on whatever this is that makes them into the hyenas. And then you've got Fury. When the two Firestorms are combined. And it has the girl that they're both worried about, and everything to kind of discredit Jason, and everything to discredit Ronnie, and make them seem like they're criminals and terrorists, and so there's this vast conspiracy that's going on here, and it just rang false. I mean, there wasn't a note of this comic that I thought was okay. Well, that's really smart, or this is really the right way to go. Everything just feels so muddled and scattered all to hell, and it's just like it became an assault. It just became a complete and total assault on like your brain, and and it didn't feel good. It felt wrong. It felt bad. It felt cheap. That's kind of where I ended up with it. So it was like, yeah, this is just not getting my love anymore. So, I mean, I will give it one more issue because I have to be fair to Gale, but I don't think this one's going to last, and I don't think it's going to get any better, quite honestly. So, sad, but that's, it's the way I feel about it. It's a subjective medium. Going back to good things, and a real surprise was Stitched #1, which is Garth Ennis at Avatar Press, where he did Crossed, or created Crossed, and now Garth actually made a film out of this that he directed. I don't know which is the chicken and which is the egg, as far as I don't know if the film came first and this is just kind of his own adaptation of it, or if he was doing the comic book and he said, well, let's just make a film. Well, Stitched, basically the story, okay, we've got a Black Hawk helicopter. It goes down in Afghanistan. They're a long ways away from any friendly areas. They are behind enemy lines, and you've got two women and one man, the survivors of this crash, and basically it's a horror story that works on two levels. It's the horror of war and combat in Afghanistan, and I mean in just about any war, because that's something that Garth's knowledge of things military and war is almost like fetishistic. But it's not quite as fetishistic as he's very he's very learned when it comes to writing about war, and Garth is a very singular voice in comics, and then but the horror also extends to the supernatural, because you have these kind of almost not zombies, not mummies, somewhere kind of in between the two, that do slaughter all of these basically Afghani rebels, not the good rebels, the bad rebels, and it just turns it on its head. So it says this is Garth Ennis doing horror of war and horror of the supernatural. Very strong outing. It's really, really creepy. Not as creepy as Crossed, but that was more like creepy, disturbing, like fuck with your head type of stuff. But this is just more horror creepy. And it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So stay tuned. We're going to have part 2 coming up in just a few moments. So stay tuned.